Hello Bladers, welcome back. This is Hector Sanchez, and again I'm here with Rakesh Saha, and we're bringing you part 2 of our VMready product demonstration. Part 2 is going to cover our pre-provisioning capabilities as well as additional features in VMready. We're also going to cover a brief comparison of VMready and Cisco Nexus 1000V product. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Rakesh. Thank you again for joining our demo of VMready.
Hello everyone, this is Rakesh Saha here, and this is part 2 of the demo. In part 1 we covered benefits of VMready, and we covered VMready group features and the end motion, and in this we will start with VM pre-provisioning feature. So let me just get started on the slide here. So in VM pre-provisioning, what we offer is that a VM which has been pre-provisioned through the virtual center or some other management console of VM hypervisor vendor, they can then come to the switch and configure the VMs in the switch in advance, so that when that VM actually comes online at any point of time, it will have the right configuration associated with it in the switch. So here we have a VM which has been pre-provisioned. It exists as a template or an entity, but has not come live yet. So it has the number of CPUs assigned and the memory and such. And then at some point of time in future, that VM becomes online, and then it has to have the right policies associated with it so it can communicate to the outside world. And we facilitate that in VMready. So I'm going to now move on to the switch GUI to show how it is done. So here we are in our VMready GUI, and you can see here we have a VM pre-provisioning field. So I open it up, and you can see you can provide the MAC addresses of the VM and assign them in whichever group that you like. So what I will do here is that I will go to VMware vCenter or the virtual center, look at the VM that I have pre-provisioned in advance. So it has its CPU and memory and NIC and all that stuff. And then I'm going to go to the network adapter that is representing this VM, and I'm going to copy its MAC address and simply put it right here. And I will leave it in group 2 for now, and then I say apply. So this VM is right now not on the network. It is not doing any traffic. It is just pre-provisioned. And you can see here that we have that particular VM belonging to group 2. So now what I will do here in the virtual center is that I will bring that VM live by starting the VM. So I'm going to click on this button right here, and that is going to start the VM, and we will see that the VM is starting. And as soon as the VM starts, we can see here that I'm going to reload the switch to see if we detected that VM has started or not. So I'm going to go back here and see what I have here. You will notice that VM does not appear in the pre-provisioning window anymore. That's because that VM is actually known to the switch, and it is known to come from a given port, and it is shown under that particular port. So you can now see that particular VM is known to the network. The group 2 policies has been applied to that VM, and in advance we had configured an uplink for that, and this VM will then use group 2 port 220 to go out and talk to the outside world as an example. So this shows the VM pre-provisioning feature of VMready. Now I will show you a couple of other interesting features we have which will help you in managing your switch. So you can go to the information menu, and what you can do is take a look at VM groups submenu, and what you will see here is a list of all the VMs known to this switch across all the ports of the switch in the single switch mode or in the stack mode. We also show you, for example, to which VLANs some of the VMs belong, if they belong to any VLANs. We show you which VM is configured for which group. You just saw that we had configured this VM MAC address in group 2, and this is shown here. There are certain filters that you can apply for ease of viewing. You can say that I only want to see VMs which come from port 1:3, for example, and you will see only that. You can further say show me, let us say, things which are in VLAN 200, and it will only show you VMs which are in VLAN 200, for example. Another interesting thing that we show is some of the events for virtual machines under syslog. So you could go to syslog and you will see that the fact that a given virtual machine was pre-provisioned and it came online is actually captured right here. And one other event that we capture is the live migration of the virtual machine. So for example, I will just take this VM and migrate it to this particular server over here. And as soon as the migration is over, you will see that we actually note that in our switch right over here. So I will let the migration go ahead, and the migration should complete fairly quickly. So we are at 10%, and then it basically zooms to 90% right away. There you go. And you can see that it's going on. The migration is completed, and you can see that in our switch we have noted that machine 172.31.40.170 has moved from port 12 to port 21. So this concludes the demonstration of all the features of VMready. Now what I will do is that I'll spend a couple of minutes comparing VMready with Nexus 1000V. So what I have here is a slide that does that. So we have the VMready here and the Cisco Nexus 1000V on the right hand side, and you can see there are some differences over there. The first difference to note is that we do not have any additional software to be installed on the hypervisor for VMready to work. All the software of VMready resides in our hardware switches, whereas Cisco's Nexus 1000V is a software which has to be installed on the hypervisor, on each of the hypervisor that you want to have Nexus 1000V on, which means that you have to take out the mature VMware vSwitch, put in a new one, and of course you have to also contend with the CPU being used for the vSwitch functionality. Then you will see that VMready is a vendor-neutral solution. We work with all major hypervisors, whereas Cisco's Nexus 1000V will only work with VMware. And one other thing to note is that 1000V will only work with ESX 4.0 and beyond, whereas VMready works with any versions of ESX and other hypervisors too. Then you can see that VMready makes the network virtualization aware because the switches know of the VMs connected to it. VMready works across a stack, whereas Cisco's 1000V is a software solution, which means that the uplink switches actually do not know about the virtual machines that are connected to them. So this is not a virtual machine aware network. What they do have is a concept called VNLink, which is not available as yet, whereas VMready is shipping right now. Then what you have is that another concept of virtual switching groups, in which case you can dedicate groups of VMs and certain uplinks in one group, and those VMs will only use that uplink. So in this way you can segregate your switch in multiple groups, and also you can assign the right bandwidth for those VMs. Nexus 1000V lets you actually see the vSwitch in a given hypervisor as an extension or as any other Cisco switch, but that comes at the cost of a new management station that you need to now have, which means that in order to manage your Cisco 1000V, you must have either an independent station like shown here or a virtual appliance sitting on one of your existing hypervisors. So you have to manage it as a separate entity. So this shows the major differences between VMready and Cisco Nexus 1000V, and this concludes our part 2 of the demo. Thank you very much.